Have you ever actually used a fire extinguisher? Do you know how an emergency flare really works? And what happens when you jump into the water wearing full sailing gear? If you spend most of your summer on a boat, winter is the time to train for the stuff you hope you'll never need. That's why we joined a safety at sea training in Bavaria last year. Sure, there were classroom sessions about do's and don'ts on board, important stuff, but the practical part, that's where it got really interesting. We started with fire training. Different types of extinguishers, different kinds of fires, and a live demonstration of what happens if you try to put out a burning oil pan with water. Let's just say, very impressive. And on a cold winter day, also surprisingly warm. In the evening, it was time for emergency flares. We learned how to ignite them, how to hold them safely, and how quickly they burn out. The big takeaway: if you ever use one of those, make sure someone is actually looking at you. Day 2 took place in a swimming pool. We showed up in full sailing gear while our instructor looked very relaxed in his shorts. A few moments later, we were sweating. Then we jumped in. That was the first time we really felt what happens when a life jacket inflates in the water. Swimming with clothes and shoes on was easier than expected. The artificial spray, not so much, exactly as intended. We practiced how to swim without exhausting ourselves, how to stay together as a group, and how to make ourselves more visible to a helicopter. The final part was probably the most eye-opening. We learned how to board a life raft from the boat and from the water, and how to flip it back over if it inflates upside down. All in all, the training was a lot of fun and incredibly useful. We still apply many of these lessons on our boat today. Our safety briefing, something every guest gets before we leave the harbour, was heavily shaped by this experience. And most importantly, we now feel much more confident knowing how to prevent emergencies and how to act if one actually happens.